Hey traders, this is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group with your end of day recap for Thursday. And the indices found a little momentum today after a week of a lot of choppy markets. And as I mentioned a couple times in last night's video, boring for the most part for the major indices. They found some momentum today, and there was a couple different catalysts that kind of drove us higher and kind of gave the markets a little bit of a push to the upside. But in the beginning of the day, one of the things that we noticed, first of all, the indices started the day flat, which was really nice because it used to be, last year a lot of times the market would just you'd get in the morning and the market would be up about 30, 40 basis points, and we'd kind of just trade in a small range the whole day. But it's been different for the last 6 months. Just hasn't been these big overnight moves. So in any event, we started the day flat. A lot of the sellers were not in the marketplace today because of the big snowstorm that happened on the East Coast and in New York City. I'm just kidding, but in any event, the market did get a nice push after the open. There were several things or several catalysts that kind of drove us higher. Number one, the first thing that we noticed was that market breadth was very positive today. You can see this is the indicator that I have here that looks at NYSE, Nasdaq, and ARCA volume, and you could see that there was just a very good participation of volume and buying going on, which kind of helped us today manage today's trading activity. And the main thing that we saw was the small caps. Small caps have kind of been have been lagging the last week, and really nice performance, up 1.4% today. We've had a couple days where they've really underperformed, and this is something that I talked about in the morning. There was a pretty big seller that was present. This is my ETF inflow and outflow spreadsheet. And IWM, the small cap ETF, there was $1 billion of outflows just yesterday. And for the week, it was $1.6 billion. So there was a big seller that was present. And maybe they're done with what they're selling, and we see a nice move up. Another catalyst for today was the steel group. There was some positive comments out by the CEO of Cliff. Said something to the effect of that the steel market is in fuego or on fire. Something I'm paraphrasing, but that was basically the gist of it. Cliffs was up 19.4%, so that ignited the whole steel. Some of the steel names, U.S. Steel, look on the daily chart for all these. U.S. Steel is almost back to the highs. Just in one day, up 8%. It also had a nice day. I think that was about a week ago where we did about the same type of a move. But after earnings, after these names reported earnings, they were a little bit weak. Talking about U.S. Steel and AK Steel. But they've bounced back nicely here, and we saw some call buying in U.S. Steel earlier in the day. We also saw a couple chunky orders in AK Steel. I followed one of those orders. I'm in some January calls. I like how the chart looks here. It's been kind of basing for a little while, well off the highs. And first green bar into the value area. So nice close into the value area. And I'm looking for a move to 1050. And I know exactly where the trade's not going to work. If we happen to get outside of or get below 837, which is the bottom of value, that's my bail point where I want to get out of the trade if it's not going to work. But definitely want to give this a shot now that it's in value. So steel names very strong. We also saw a lot. Then the other group that caught fire this morning was retail. And this is a pretty beaten up area, but we saw a lot of call buying in different names, and we saw a lot of names. It wasn't necessarily a dash to trash rally, but there were a lot of names that saw call buying. You could look at the XRT and kind of look at the movers for the day, and you'll kind of see what I mean. On the top of the list, you have GNC, which is up 5%, SVU, which saw a big call buyer, up 4.8%, 5 up 4. I mean, look at these moves. I mean, all up over 3.5%. Abercrombie's in here. Whole Foods, which was down last night on earnings, actually rebounded and came up. TLRD, another name that I would kind of put in the list as I described, kind of the names probably on the bottom of the totem pole of retail, getting a really nice move today. And then on top of that, we saw some really heavy activity in a couple of the discount stores like Dollar Tree. Just huge call buyer in Dollar Tree, and they came in twice for this. This was about 6,000 of the May 82.5 calls that winded up trading, but this was a sweep opening trade. And you could see that they came into this several times for 4,000 contracts. This was no small trade, by the way. If you look at the price that these went up, 340. This was $1.5 million of premium there. So not a small trade whatsoever. Take a look at the chart in Dollar Tree. If you missed it today, I wouldn't fret about it. I think you could definitely see a move up to this purple line. That's that's a VPOC, Virgin Point of Control. That's about $88. And look at the defined support that you have in Dollar Tree. It seems like every time it gets down to the 74 level, there's buyers that come in. This was once on earnings, but you could see here as well. So same type of area, right around $74. This seems to bounce very well. So I would watch for some continuation tomorrow in Dollar Tree if you didn't get in it. Also, another name in the retail space, CarMax. Same thing, a repeat call buyer today. There's a total of 8,000 contracts traded in this one. Different looking chart. This one looks like it's trying to get back to the highs. It did not. It just barely did get above the value area. And then we also saw call buying, which we've seen kind of repeat call buying at this point in Foot Locker. Foot Locker I did not participate in. I did look at this because the trade did go up halfway through the day, and I just saw that we've got resistance right ahead of it, and in fact it did not close through the value area today. So probably a name to keep an eye on, considering they've been at it a couple times, and if retail continues to rally from the lows, maybe a name to keep on your watch list. What wasn't in favor today, or just what didn't have momentum today? The FANG stocks. And this is typically how it works. We've had this week where the major indices really didn't move a lot. The U.S. indices weren't moving, but the FANG stocks were. Your Facebook, Apple has had a really strong move. Netflix, Google started to catch a little bit of fire, and Amazon started to wake up after earnings. But this is basically how it happens. You'll have 3 or 4 days sometimes where those names really move and there's momentum, and then the rest of the market starts to pick up, where you see a rotation. So sometimes you'll see those names chop around for a little while, and then you'll see names like the bank. You'll see the banks move, which were really strong today. Goldman had a great move today. I saw a little bit of call buying in JP Morgan as well today, but it's a game of rotation. So every morning we talk about levels to watch in those momentum FANG names, and they really weren't in play for me. I played a little bit of Amazon this morning, but that was it. They just didn't hit the alerts that I set in the morning, or the triggers where I would be interested in buying. So and again, this happens. You're going to see a rotation. So there's going to be days where the FANG stocks just are not there. So it's good to have those triggers or those levels that you like set. But don't always, for me, I don't always go back to them because there's other things in the market that's going on. And I think today was a perfect example of that. Other areas where we saw call buying in, a couple technology plays, Teradyne, TER. This was a name that we saw. I'll just bring up the chart of TER. This was a name that we saw call buying before they had earnings. They had a really nice earnings quarter. They beat on the bottom line and the top line. That's this particular day. And it's had a little bit of follow-through activity today, but a nice sharp call buyer came in today. I did take this trade. This is out in July. This trade did not work today, so if you didn't get into this trade, you didn't miss anything, and possibly you could get into it and kind of use this order that went up as a backstop because it was pretty aggressive order that went up. Going out to July, so a little bit of a longer term trade. Also, we saw a nice order in Sienna today. I was able to take one target in that trade, but it kind of faded at the end of the day. So those were the March calls that went up in Sienna. And then what else was I going to mention here? We talked about those. Twilio had a nice day after earnings. Microchip, which had a real big quarter, also a small order of the short dated February 72.5 calls went up. Just after hours, NVIDIA is out. We played this pretty well. Let's see where it is now. Perfect. I sold an iron condor for this. My thinking was that the move, just like we saw for the FANG stocks going into earnings, huge rally into earnings, but a kind of fizzle after earnings, almost a sell the event of earnings day. So we'll see where it ends tomorrow. But this was the trade that we put on, earnings trade, selling the weekly 123, 126 call spread and selling a put spread as well, and collecting some premium on that. I think the implied move that we put out this morning was an 8.4% implied move, so pretty hefty move, and a great opportunity to sell premium there. So that looks great, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's up. The other thing that I did today, just a little bit of defense against that Sienna position and Teradyne position that I put on. If you go to the Nasdaq, while the chart looks great and it's been a beautiful grind up here, has definitely had some outperformance. One thing I noticed that it's getting a little bit overbought, and I did this the last time it got overbought. I sold some out of the money call spreads. I did the same thing today. Because just to kind of as a little bit of a defense trade, just in case we do get a pullback, and I sold a few of the NDX next week's call spreads and collected. Where is this? I sold a couple of these NDX Feb right here. This 5,225, 5,230 call spreads, and I collected $2. My total risk is $3. If we continue to go higher, so be it. I have long trades on, but a good little defensive trade to put on in case if you are a little bit legged long. So thank you very much for watching today's video, and have a great evening.